Rolling, 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 all the rivers rolling, keep them doggies rolling right.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, good night, whatever goodness it is in whatever part of the globe. If it's not a flat earth, it is in your part of the world, wherever you are. Good evening. That's a good evening as well. I'm Thundercloud. Boom! My mum calls me James. I'm washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains, and I'm here in the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Welcome to Wednesday Words Poetry Open Mic Night here, which happens every Wednesday. We've got our regulars in tonight. Welcome to everybody out there in Facebook, YouTube world, and the interworld wide www web. And begin the night. Let's begin with acknowledging country, that we are broadcasting here from Banjo Kamilaroi country in Gyra on the New South Wales Northern Tablelands, and acknowledge the continuing connection to the land of the elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Moving right along, this week, on the 17th of, let's see, must have been the 17th of February, because we're in February. That's a few days ago now. We've only got 5 days left of summer. But on the 17th of February 1864, Banjo Paterson, Andrew Barton Paterson, was born. Pretty much, well, it's the 23rd. It's exactly 2 years to the day that I rolled into Gyra, except that it was a Monday, because it's now Wednesday. And I walked down this main street here and looked about, and I looked in the window of this place, and I've gone, WTF in my mind. And then made a phone call, and then come in here and decided to take the lease and create the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. So it's probably the 2-year anniversary of me making that decision, and thank you very much. Thank you. Bravo! Bravo! And then 1 month later, on the 24th of March, I was here, and it was, the front doors were open, and that was the first day of COVID lockdown 2020. But what brought me here was Banjo Paterson, and the Banjo Paterson Poetry Festival and Competition in Orange, where I'd been down there performing Happy Harry Koala, and on the way back I decided to just stop into Gyra. And so, because it's Banjo Paterson's birthday last week, I'm going to do 2 of his lesser known bits of poetry tonight. As one of the older, more well-known poets of Australian poetry, but a couple of these lesser known. Then I'm going to move on to a poet called Michael Dransfield, who died at the age of 24 in 1973.
My sister's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, shown you in work.
Yeah, so, and I'm going to do some of him before, I guess I'll invite, Steve, would you like to come up first tonight?
Not a problem.
Yeah, okay, then I'll invite Steve Wordsmith up. All right, so the first Banjo Paterson poem I'm going to do, it's called Fur and Feathers. It's they're 5-line stanzas with an ABAAB rhyming structure. And it's about a football game in the bush, Fur and Feathers. The emus formed a team up Walgett Way. Their dark brown sweaters were a dream, but kangaroos would sit and scream to watch them play. Now, Butterfingers they would call, and such like names the emus couldn't hold the ball. They had no hands, but hands aren't all in football games. A match against the kangaroos they played one day. The kangaroos were forced to choose some wallabies and wallaroos that played in grey. The rules that in the west prevail would shock the town, for when a kangaroo set sail, the emu jumped upon his tail and fetched him down. A whistler duck, the referee, was not admired. He whistled so incessantly that teams rebelled, and up a tree he soon retired. The old marsupial captain said, "It's do or die." So down the ground like fire he flared and leaped upon an emu's head and scored a try. Then shouting, "Keep it on the toes," the emus came. As fierce as the flooded bogan flows, they laid their foemen out in rows and saved the game. On native hare and darling pea they dined that night. But one man was an absentee. The whistler duck, their referee, had taken flight. Okay. So fur and feathers, a bush footy game. One of the things about Banjo Paterson is before he was a journalist, he was trained as a lawyer. I was trying to find the poem that he did about a sort of litigation things, how someone died and the estate was all divided and no one got anything except the lawyers whose pockets were bulging. I guess this is a similar thing. It's called a bush lawyer, and it's about a turtle and a water rat having a dispute over a crawfish, and the pelican, who is the judge, a bush lawyer. When Ironbark, the turtle, came to Anthony's lagoon, the hills were hid behind a mist of equinoctial rain. The ripple of the rivulets was like a cheerful tune. A wild companions waltzed among the grass as tall as grain. But Ironbark, the turtle, cared no whit for all of these. The ripple of the rivulets, the rustle of the trees, were only apple sauce to him, or just a piece of cheese. Now, Dandy Dan, the water rat, was exquisitely dressed, for not a seal in Bass's Straits had half a finer's coat, and every day he combed and brushed his golden yellow vest, a contrast with the white cravat he wore beneath his throat. And Dandy Dan, the water rat, could move with ease and grace, so Ironbark appeared to him a creature out of place, with iron-plated overcoat and a dirty little face. A crawfish at the point of death came drifting down the drains. Said he, "I'm scalded to the heart with bathing near the bore," and Turtle and the water rat disputed his remains. For crawfish meat they'd eat all day, and then they'd ask for more. Said Dandy Dan, "The prize is mine, for I was fishing here before you tumbled down the bank and landed on your ear." "I wouldn't care," the turtle said, "if you'd have fished a year." So Baggybeak, the pelican, was asked to arbitrate. The scales of justice seemed to hang beneath his noble beak. He said, "I'll take possession of the subject of debate." He stowed the fish inside his pouch and then began to speak. "The case is far from clear," he said, "and justice is of note." But here he snapped his beak and flapped his piebald overcoat. "Oh dear," he said, "that wretched fish slithered down my throat." But still, he said, "the point involves requires a full debate. I'll have to get the lawyer birds to fix a special date. Ad interim, I rule the costs come out of the estate. And Baggy Beak, the pelican, got up and flew away. So both the pair who went to law were feeling very small. Said we might have halved the fish and saved a nasty brawl. For half a corfish isn't much, but more than none at all. Yeah.
You can tell he was a lawyer and that.
Yeah. You end up with all the money and. All right, and okay. So since I'm going to read to you the poetry of Michael Dransfield, I'll read a bit about his biography first. He was born in 1948. He was very active in the 1960s and 70s, and he wrote up to close to 1,000 poems and described as one of the most widely read poets of his generation. He was born in Sydney, educated at Sydney Grammar School, studied briefly English literature at the University of New South Wales before dropping out. He worked for some months as a clerk at the tax office before drifting into counterculture. From then he worked intermittently, mainly living in Paddington, Balmain and Darlinghurst in Sydney, and in the north coast town of Casino. And he travelled frequently between Tasmania and Queensland, visiting his friends and poets. He wrote his first poem at the age of 8, began to write regularly at 14. He was a prolific poet with writing lyrical poems, which his career progressed to came more focused on his drug experiences. His poetry was first published in the mid-1960s. Dransfield's poems were published in Nyanjin, Southerly, Poetry Australia and Poetry Magazine, and his first published collection was Streets of the Long Voyage, and he published 2 more books including Drug Poems in 1972. He died in his early 20s. He was plagued by ill health and died at the Mater Misericord Hospital in Sydney on April the 20th, 1973, aged 24, leaving close to 1,000 poems. Sources report conflicting causes of his death, including that he died of a heroin overdose or an infection related to drug use, and a report that the coroner's finding on the cause of death was acute bronchopneumonia and brain damage. So now I'm going to read to you some of his poems. The first one here is called Eclipse. I think that's what it's called, isn't it? Just give me a moment. Epiderm. Sorry, there's nothing like Eclipse. Epiderm. Canopy of nerve ends, marvellous tent, airship skying in crowds and blankets, pillow slip of serialised flesh. It wraps us rather neatly in our senses, but will not insulate against externals, does nothing to protect, merely notifies the brain of conversation with a stimulus. I like to touch your skin, to feel your body against mine, 2 islets in atoll of each other, spending all night in new discovery of what the winds of passion have washed up and what a jaded tide will find for us to play with when this game begins to pour. Interesting. All right. Now these ones of his were 5 poems by Michael Dransfield, published in the Bareknuckle Journal of Letters by Bareknuckle Books. This one is just titled H, the letter H. But The room is hostile territory. The door irrelevant. It's no good. It's no good even ringing for service. There is a revolution and it's no good in bed. All I want is sleep and you with your translations, paging through all seasons and the 4 dead hours of night. I'm tired of you. I ride through open country. A horse appears on the road, but the road has bored me dreadfully. I have no fear of falling and lie with the wheels spinning over my head. Where is the good fairy? This time I've done it, but my eyes roll. They will frighten him. Plunge a silver needle in. Useless to try your epigrams on me. Oh, nothing. Useless to try. Yeah. That was written on the 17th of January 1972. Next one. This one's called Yerrinbool. The pepper trees are ancient. Some are dying. They're huge. They rest their weight in shadow on the homestead. Their death implies an end of what has been love. Owl, skull, hillside, desolate as churches. You are in a room with full and empty bottles on a table, and full and empty you consider death, the place where living brings you, in a tumbril drawn by nightmares in the tomb you have been building. The walk-in space. Winter here went to see Bruce. He sells furs and known Tracy well. Got a red fox fur, old, knee length. Met my friend who made love under my fur and me. There's an inside pocket. Met M connection and caught onto some rather freaky stuff. Today, might walk through town naked and fix in a church and lie down in a park with a friend. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm just going to skip the next one. And the last one I'm going to do of Michael Dransfield is a little short one. Why? It's called Why. I write poems to trick people into thinking I'm sane. I'm through with fucking art. I do it for a reason.
Yeah.
Why?
Are you going to do that again? Why? Yeah.
Why not?
Why? I write poems to trick people into thinking I'm sane. I'm through with fucking art. I do it for a reason.
Wow.
Yeah. I can relate to that, eh? It's funny. Does that mean I'm not sane?
Wow.
You're all being tricked.
Not one to judge.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to invite Mr. Steve Wordsmith up to come and entertain us with his poetry tonight. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I'm always very, very pleased to be here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. It's a experience. It's an experience. It's the ability to be able to speak the words and the truths and the thoughts that we have. And poets, I believe, that stand in the place of the clarion call to the people of this world and the nations at the moment. My name is Steve Wordsmith. My book is Where the Rubber Hits the Road in this game they call life. I thank James for giving us a stage to be able to voice our opinions as poetry and poets of the past, and recognise the many, many wonderful words of wisdom that have been planted in our hearts and in our souls, and we just stand as the light beings and the word that can be come out. And then we see young poets like that stand, and they've lived in the dark side of life, and take art as an escape route to the hurts and the damage of abuse and things like that by many, many forms, in such as drugs and the abuse that happens in life. I believe it was an interesting day yesterday, you know, all the numbers lining up backwards and forwards and the twos. We've come out of the age of 1, and I think we've moved into the age of 2. And this is an opinion. A lot of people have their opinions and such, and we all stand in our place of opinion. And many people challenge this and are bound by the shutters over their eyes by dogmas that they have picked up over many, many years and such. But I think we're living in an age of high vibration and a new change to a new world. And yesterday was a significant day. I believe that and beliefs are always a problem because there's always a doubt in beliefs. But many people have different doubts and such. But I do believe blessed will be the overcomers. Blessed will be the overcomers. I understand the universe a little bit, and I believe that the prophet of Christ came many years ago and came with a message. At that time it was out of timing because the religious people decided they feared the message that he gave, and they put him on a cross. And they took the message and then they manipulated the message into such a way that it became the dogma of religions. I tell many stories, and some of them are bound by the stories of the Australian bush as we see it, and the wonderful places that we've walked, and some of them are very interesting, and some of them are very deep in the places that we go. I like to, because we are wordsmiths, it's not always that bound word that we stick in the poems that we've been given, but we speak the words that are given through the Spirit. You know that I'm eccentric, and you know that I'm quite weird. You know that I wear rainbow and I have a long white beard. But listen to the words that I have, because I'm listening to the Spirit, and the Spirit makes us wise. In these times of great upheaval, I would like to stand at times in the voice of reason. And I think that this is the place that poets stand, in the place of reason, in the place of many challenges. See, it's all a tale of a river. It's told by a man in a dream. The dream was inspired by the sovereign being, and it's a blessing for you and for me. This river, it enters the ocean, the fresh washes away the saline and the brine. Yes, stagnant waters start flowing, and there's creatures of many species and kind. On the banks of the river grow orchards, fruit trees of many a kind, and they'll produce on a monthly basis as the fresh replaces the brine. You can paddle in up to your ankles, you can wade in up to your knees, but it's better to go right in and be submerged and be purified and be cleaned. I think we stand at this time in there's many little crossroads and such, you know, but I truly believe, because what we have to do is live in unconditional love. And that is giving out a high vibration, keeping in the right form, getting into our meditations, because it's the tool that we have to connect or reconnect to the higher self. And the higher self is the guidance of who we are. And we were brought for a time like this. And to me, that is a very important time, that we are here for this time. I'm excited to be here. Every day there's many, many moments of wonderful times, and we are going into a brand new world and a heaven on earth. And I believe this is the fulfilling of prophecies that's happening at this time, and we stand at this pivotal moment in a time where the universe is shining on this planet of ours. There's a light being forced by the solar energies and such, and we are being lifted into the fifth dimension. In the Aztec calendar, I stand as a world bridger. It's time to move from the third dimension into the fifth dimension. And we are in the time of ascension. And the words are being fulfilled that we will be the children of the Most High. Each and every one of us has had the spark put into our hearts, and when we live in unconditional love, love is our protection. Love is our protection. And we are moving from being in the physical world into a spiritual world and a whole new dimension. The fear and the hurts of the past of the third dimension are leaving, and we will live in a brand new world. I'd like to just spread just a couple of little Australian poems, because that's what we're here. We're at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I met him first near Warren, working on a starved out farm. He was skeletor and sallow, lean of shank and long of arm. Wide lips and flared out nostrils that bespoke his native blood. Battler, scratching hard existence in this land of drought and flood. But he won a tight survival, chasing rabbits day and night. Had no gun nor ammunition. Used to knock 'em out in flight with a waddy for a weapon. Junk or rock was just the same. And he'd grab that groggy bunny and he'd say, that was deadly aim. Seldom off his target, gave those spielers a little rest in them knock-'em sock-'em alleys in the showground out the west. The day that I enlisted, he was standing next to me, and I heard him tell the captain that his name was Darky Lee. Or often quiet and moody, lonely in a crowd, no doubt. Or perhaps the dipper colour made him feel the odd man out. But he was a willing soldier and a dinkum cobber too. Like the night the MP's quarters at that swire game in the loo. Yeah, he nailed that provost sergeant cold as any side of meat, with a well-aimed whiskey bottle at the range of 20 feet. Mighty quick we were escaping, and I heard our mate exclaim as we scarpered through the alleys, fellas, that was deadly aim. Then our mob embarked for service to a land across the sea, where the final call awaited for that bloke called Darky Lee. It was at the Flanders dust up at a place called Blardner's Court. We copped a bad position. Yeah, men cut off without support, and that enemy machine gun keeping up a steady fire, safe and sound in their encampment behind barricade and wire. Flat we lay like bloody lizards on that piece of shell-raped plain, and that enemy machine gun pelted lead like summer rain. Well, our choice was die like heroes or the white surrender flag. When our officer decided it was time to sky the rag, take your choice, a German prison or a group of unmarked mounds. When this bloke goes racing past me like a hare before the hounds strike me blue, but it was Darky. Like an emu crouching low, in his right hand was a grenade swinging ready for the throw. No cover to protect him, dashing, daring as you please, where those Mitchell houses chattered and the bullets hummed like bees, and fair into that enemy gun pit, he dispatched his first grenade. Screams were heard from brave men dying as that scarlet blossom burst. Then he sent them up another just as quickly as the first. German gunner or rabbit, it was all the same to our champion Bundy chucker. He maintained his deadly aim. Then a dying spurt of gunfire rang the bell on Darky Lee. By the time the medics got there, he was very nearly gone, though his belly parts were punctured, his heart was hanging on, and in final grief we listened to the gasp that shook his frame, and the final words he uttered. Fellas, that was deadly, ain't it? Just another unsung hero gone unhallowed and unsung, one of many number when the final curtain rung. Native son with small ambition, or a heart's decree, a soldier in the true tradition. Rest untroubled, Darky Lee. I tell that story for certain reasons, and that's just to bring it to mind that we've only in the 60s actually decided that the Indigenous people are human beings. And back then, many, many years ago, they were dying for us, for our freedoms. And we stand in this place where freedom is challenged throughout the world, and we see the many, many situations of upheavals and storms and things happening in many places, and freedom being challenged. And I believe the whole of consciousness is waking up to an understanding that we're in a brand new day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve. Here's your
Oh, sorry.
here's your phone.
Here's your phone.
Who's going to come on up next? I was just wondering about that.
I will, if you like, because I wanted to say something quickly about Michael Tipping.
Okay.
Sorry, Michael Dransfield. Oh, it doesn't matter, whoever you like.
Okay. You. As soon as I've got one. Oh, I don't actually have one for you guys. Yeah, I don't have one for you. So, do you want to come on up now? Yeah. Not ready.
I felt very powerful emotion when the subject of Michael Dransfield came up, because my dear sister, Sian Albanese, she was at, I think, the last reading he ever gave. It was somewhere at St Lucia. I think it might have been at Women's College. And his family, and I'm going to get emotional now, because he would have been a really great poet and writer, we all think. His family and friends were there. And as I said, I think it was the last reading he ever gave. And Sian never forgot it. She often talked to me about it over 30 years. The last 20, it didn't come up much. And the intensity of her memory of the occasion and the beauty of his presence is something that I will always remember. And she said it had a horrifying poignancy that, I think it was the afternoon in the common room or something, where they had chat and tea and that sort of cosmic imagery that's part of Dransfield. And he died shortly after that. But it's always haunted me, my sister's comments about him. I wanted to say goodbye tonight too to Annie Solomon's partner, who did a great deal for the education of women and the education of people generally in our community here on the tableland. Annika Capros, Henny's wife Isabel, a wonderful soul. And on the morning of going to her farewell, her funeral, I woke up and just took this piece of paper and a biro and wrote. I woke up in the morning. Well, Isabel, we are still here, although you are not. Her eyes smiled as her eyes did, and the smile behind the smile smiles. She was a really wonderful person. Sadly, at the end, she couldn't get to see her sister because of COVID and her own ill health. So, what have I been reading? Short performance tonight. I've been reading in this chapter of travail because the world is changing more than us of the English language like to admit or see. I've been reading the essays of Michel de Montaigne, who saw it all in the 1550s and wrote well about it all in all. Oh, I might finish with a picture of the Gyra Gazette, the show. I think it says a great deal that's good and constant about Gyra. The men and the bull and the bull and the men. And I'm not having a go at them because I love bulls. I hope that comes up well on the screen. And there is one poem I will read. I'm being truthful, perhaps too much so. There is a poem while Steve, as the technology picked me up, while Steve was presenting something very close to my heart, as I taught Aboriginal kids for a decade of my life, and they always used to have to roll up as soldiers under the template of being a Pakistani or an Indian throughout the First World War. So that poem's always very close to my heart. But while I was reading, I noticed this poster of James, and I thought that these words of Adam Lindsay Gordon were very apt to Michael Dransfield, actually, and to the poems that James read. So you can come to the Poets Hall of Fame and you can buy these plastic surviving and hardy reproductions of some of the great ballads and blurbs of Australian consciousness. And it's a short work called The Swimmer. I would that with sleepy, soft embraces the sea would fold me, would find me rest in luminous shades of her secret places, in depths where her marvels are manifest, so the earth beneath her should not discover my hidden couch, nor the heaven above her, as a strong love shielding a weary lover, I would have her shield me with shining breast. That's a poem that's very close to my family's heart.
Thank you. You done?
Short spiel tonight.
It is a short spiel. I'm on my way back. I've got something, a bit of music for you guys. It's about the baby hyena. It's Beethoven's Fur Release. Boo-hoo! I don't know what to do. My mama's been turned into a giant lion poo. I wish that lion was dead. The baby hyena said. My dad is quite absurd. He's been changed into a lion turd. There's no laughing to be heard. I'm giving you my word. The lion will soon be dead. The baby hyena said. Shit! What should I think of it? Oh no, my brother's now been turned into a lion shit. He's been swallowed down in just one hit. And my sister's also now a lion shit. I'll bite off that lion's head. The baby hyena said. I don't know what's going on there. There's more. There's more. It must be the short version where I have to go and like hit the... Why is it frozen? It's frozen up on us. Okay, there's more. Wow, she jumped on to the lion, said, "Do you feel like dying? I used to feel like crying, and now I'm tearing strips of fur off a lion. I've just bitten the lion's head." The baby hyena said, "I've had enough of it. You turned my family into lion shit." As she ripped and scratched and bit. Yeah, lion, you'll soon be hyena shit. Because all my family is dead. The baby hyena said, "Lion, you're going down, and very soon you're gonna be hyena brown." And the lion gave a final frown as the hyena swallowed bits of lion down and the lion said, "I'll soon be dead, with hyena jaws clenched around my head." Well, that was the end of it. And the lion's now hyena shit. Because I ripped and bit and ate every little bit of it. The lion's now dead. The baby hyena said. On the end of the note, like, even though it stopped halfway. All right.
That was funny.
On that note, yeah, the hyena got his bits back. I'm going to do one by Les Murray now, called "The Cows on Killing Day." So it's a bit more gory. I'll just get into it. It's for Bronwyn. I'm reading it tonight actually because she wanted to hear what it's like. So she likes it. Me too. The Cows on Killing Day. All of me are standing on feed. The sky is shining. All of me have just been milked. Move the feed inside me. One of me smells of needing the bull. That heavy, urgent me. The back climber who leaves me humped, straining, but light and peaceful again, with crystalline moving inside me. Standing on wet rock, being milked, assuages the calf sorrow in me. Now the me who needs mounts on me, hopping to signal the bull. The tractor comes, trotting in its grumble. The heifer human bounces on top of it. And cud comes with the tractor. Big rolls of tight, dry feed, lucerne, clovers, buttercup, grass, that's been bitten but never swallowed, yet is cud. She walks up over the tractor and down it comes, roll on roll. and all of me following, eating it and dropping the good pats. The heifer human smells of needing the bull human and is angry. All of me look nervously at her, and she chases the dog me dream of horning dead our enemy of the light loose tongue. Me jam him in his squeals, me facing every way, spreading out over feed. One me is still in the yard, the place skinned of feed. Me, old and sore boned, little milk in that me now, licks at the wood. The oldest bull human is coming. Me in the peed yard, a stick goes out from the human and cracks like a whip. Me shivers and falls down with the terrible, the blood of me coming out behind an ear. Me, that other me, down and dreaming in the bare yard. All of me come running. It's like the hot part of the sky that's hard to look at. This, that now happens behind wood in the raw yard. A shining leaf like off the bitter gum tree is with the human. It works in the neck of me. And the terrible floods out, swamped and frothy. All of me make the roar, some leaping stiff-kneed, trying to horn that worst horror. The wolf at the calves is the bull human. Horn the bull human! But the dog and the heifer human drive away all me. Looking back, the glistening leaf is still moving. All of dry old me is crumpled like the hills of feed, and a slick me, like a huge calf, is coming out of me. The carrion, stinking dog, who is calf of human and wolf, is chasing and calling little blood things, the humans safer, and all me run away over smells toward the sky. The cow's on killing day. And on that, now, are you ready tonight at all, Gladys?
No, John, no, I've got
Okay.
not.
Gabriel, are you
Just,
right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Gabriel Donleavy.
I'll just sit back and enjoy it.
I can sing a song if you want at the end.
Yeah.
I forgot to do it, but I've got that in my mind. Who you got? Yevtushenko?
You bet.
Oh, you have.
No, cool.
I've got my Russian T-shirt on. And it's a day when Russia's in the news. Now, Yevtushenko was the Soviet rock star when we in the West were in between Elvis and the Beatles in the early 60s. And I was at school and I'd just done O-levels in the English system, and we had to do a second language. We got the choice of German, Spanish and Russian, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, and a guy read this to me and that decided me on Russian. And this is just the English translation, but I think you'll probably see why. And it's also good to be doing it tonight, because the Russians are going to get a lot of stick for what Putin is doing, and
They've got a big stick.
yeah, well, yeah, and big lots of things indeed.
They've got it all.
And the
there.
other side of the Russian character, I think, is fairly unique. Yeah. of a kind you don't see elsewhere. And this, one of his most famous poems, kind of brings it out. It's about a killing field just at the beginning of the Holocaust. Right. Over Babi Yar there are no memorials. The steep hillside like a rough inscription. I'm frightened. Today I'm as old as the Jewish race. I seem to myself a Jew at this moment. I wandering in Egypt. I crucified. I perishing. Even today the mark of the nails. I think also of Dreyfus. I am he. The Philistine, my judge and my accuser. Cut off by bars and cornered. Ringed around, spat at, lied about. The screaming ladies with the Brussels lace poke me in the face with their parasols. I am also a boy in Bialystok. The dropping blood spreads across the floor. The public bar heroes are riot. In an equal stench of garlic and of drink. I have no strength, go spinning from a boot. Shriek useless prayers that they don't listen to, with a cackle of, thrash the kike and save Russia. The corn chandler is beating up my mother. I seem to myself like Anna Frank, to be transparent as an April twig, and I'm in love. I have no need for words. I need for us to look at one another. How little we have, to see or to smell, separated from foliage and the sky. How much in the dark room, gently embracing each other. They're coming, don't be afraid, the booming and banging of the spring. It's coming this way, come to me. Quickly, give me your lips. They're battering in the door, roar of the ice. Over Babi Yar, rustle of the wild grass. The trees look threatening, look like judges, and everything is one silent cry. Taking my hat off, I feel myself slowly going grey. And I am one silent cry over the many thousands of the buried, every old man killed here, every child killed here. Oh, my Russian people, I know you. Your nature is international. Foul hands rattle your clean name. I know the goodness of my country. How horrible it is that that pompous title the anti-Semites calmly call themselves, Society of the Russian People. No part of me can ever forget it. When the last anti-Semite on the earth be buried forever, let the Internationale ring out. No Jewish blood runs among my blood, but I am as bitterly and hardly hated by every anti-Semite as if I were a Jew. By this, I am a Russian. Not bad, huh? And I found on YouTube him actually doing it to the piece of music. I think it's concerto, might be something that Shostakovich composed specially for the poem, and so I'll bring that sometime, because that's a bit of a tour de force. And Yevtushenko himself was a mix of Ukrainian, Russian and Tatar. So, and he was born in Siberia. I think he's dead now, but I'm not completely certain.
Yes.
I think he is, yeah. Okay, now this is almost completely different. It's one of mine. And this was written in the about mid-70s. For like a lot of people my age, your age for that matter, after the Beatles and the 60s and the joints, we went into self-help, self-realisation, mysticism, maybe a bit of Wicca, reading the tarot, doing astrology.
Having a lot of sex.
No, that was more the 60s and the 70s. The 70s we were trying to raise the vibration rather than raising anything else. When I used to smoke, like I guess most of you probably did. I used to smoke joints as well as cigarettes from that period. And whenever, which happens every so often, I feel really like I could just die for a fag or a joint. But I don't do it. I'll get this poem out that I wrote because it doesn't really make sense unless you read it in paper. So I'm going to treat this biro as if it was a nice big joint cheroot, okay? So this is called Red Shift. And I've tried to capture the pomposity of the period. I was in it myself. But enough introduction. Anger's bracing courage puts a red filter on the world. It comes to rescue you from brown depression and silver guilt. As you awake to yourself, finding no one else to be right where you are. As you feel you peel off the labels on you from other people's trips, and your inner voices turn from squawking to stroking, for you have been your own Waterloo sunrise. Anger's billion cells you once so feared now energize your body, poised to return the spinballs of your co-creation as the battle slowly softens to a playful scrap. As the tiring tensions slacken and the stressors stretch at last, and you raise your inner head from its old stoop to look up to the red sky you rarely saw before, the blues. Anger's basic candour becomes the can-do engine of action learning in the now of your psychophysical force fields as you turn to look straight ahead in all directions, as you fertilise the shit you take so it grows greenfully, but you know the difference between acorns and feces usefully. Anger's brilliant caring stands you up to be counted, to become a hero of value fulfillment's Shechinaric movement through the nowful. As fundamentalisms fall away like a snake's shedding skin. As you know, you don't know, all that is not whatever you say. Until the light mauve shimmering of the dreams of children unites angry red with generous blue. Universality.
That was dedicated to James.
That was very good. That was lovely. Yeah.
From a world before you were born? What year were you born?
1970.
Oh, well, it's baby James.
Different generation.
Yeah. I was conceived in 69.
Yay! Were you? That would be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No.
I remember that.
Didn't go.
Where were you conceived?
Hey?
Where were you conceived?
Somewhere in Melbourne.
Ah, that explains it all.
Really? Okay. All right. Doug, would you like to come on up?
Sing us a song.
Doug's got more than a song. I couldn't. By the way, I couldn't find that one. Yeah.
I'll try and do it next time, mate. Problem. Yeah. It's always hard acts to follow. I see you sitting up the back, Paul. I got to do a little bit of your stuff tonight, so send me a prayer, will you? Sing it without bloody music or anything like that. Anyway, I haven't got much, but I've got a couple. And I did this thing. I just said to someone, I can't stop talking in rhyme. Someone said, can you do a little spiel because we're trying to save the railway between Armadale and North. And there's a few people are hanging out in spite of the political stuff that wants bike tracks. Anyway, I'll read me a little bit. I didn't mean it to be a poem, but it suddenly turned into one, so I'll bloody bring it up here. It's simple. We're trying to simplify some of this stuff. So many figures and facts that the politicians love. Anyway. Here we go. Armadale, we're off the rails. Oh, I know, I'm not going to read this yet. I just thought when you mentioned rawhide, it come into my head, you know. Dum, 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 dum. Have you ever heard the Scottish version of rawhide? I can't think of all the words. Something about keep them beasties moving. All the things I'm missing, haggis, beer and fishing, are waiting at the end of my life. I'm going to bring you a little bit of music to that one day. Sorry, I'll get back to my poem. Right. Keep the beasties moving. Okay, here we go. Armadale, we're off the rails. We have a real railway to the Queensland border. Let's get this great thing back into order. To fix this line of life and steel is possible, we know and feel. Its journey through New England hills brings back the magic and the thrills. History and heritage lies hidden in the grass. The spark we need is bright and clear. Reach in your heart and tell us true, is Puff and Billy part of you?
Do it again. What? Do it again, unless you're going to do another poem.
Have I got to do what he says?
Do it again.
You don't have to do what he says.
No,
Was that a command or a request, brother?
a request.
I'll do it for you.
I like the feel.
I'm not very good at reading.
Anyway, texture.
Armadale, we're off the rails, and most people in Armadale don't have a bloody clue about what's going on. They get in the bike track and they don't even know that. Anyway, Armadale, we're off the rails. Are you listening? Can you listen? We have a real railway to the Queensland border. Let's get this great thing back into order. To fix this line of life and steel is possible, we know and feel. Its journey through New England hills brings back the magic and the thrills. History and heritage lies hidden in the grass. The spark we need is bright and clear. Reach in your heart and tell us true, is Puff and Billy part of you? Thank you. My granddad had a bit to do with this railway line way back from Queensland to into Warwick, so there's a bit of DNA in the bloody railway line for me. Yeah. Okay, now, Paul, please say a prayer. This is something like, I'm a bit of a Dylan tragic, and I think a bit of Dylan was read here a few weeks ago. Dylan's done an album a few months ago, and some say it's one of his better albums, one of his even his best album. So there's a paragraph in it I'd like to just to read because it touched me deeply, like a lot of Dylan stuff can touch me. He seems to have a way of, I don't know, talking sense in a crazy world. Anyway, I'll do my best. He doesn't sort of sing this, but he sort of does a Dylan on it. There's a bit of music, there's plenty of music behind him. Anyway, here we go. I don't know whether to use the title first or you're going to have to wait for the title of this particular song. Trying to emulate Dylan's not real easy, but anyway. I'm just like Anne Frank, like Indiana Jones, and them British bad boys, the Rolling Stones. I go right to the edge, I go right to the end. I go right where all things lost are made good again. What a beautiful line. All things lost, put your hand up, are made good again. I sing the songs of experience like William Blake. I have no apologies to make. Thank you, Bob. Everything's flowing all at the same time. I live on a boulevard of crime. I drive fast cars, I eat fast foods. I contain multitudes. When did you know that? When did
did he write that?
I beg your pardon?
Do you know when he wrote that?
Well, the disc was released last year, about the middle of 221.
That's very recent,
Oh,
right?
shit, yeah, mate, very recent.
That's very revealing.
And Walt Whitman did that thing
I was going
around
to
Public
say,
Youth, didn't
he quotes Whitman. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
I'm not used to him quoting Whitman.
Yeah, I love that line. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I got a bit of multitude in me anyway.
Well, I'm going to ask in a moment. Ron want to come up and...
No, I don't think I will.
That's all right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Are you going to come up, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. A quick
Paul-
one.
Paul's been
Before,
there.
before Paul comes up, swimming in a bowl of brick soup.
Hey.
Caught in a repetitive, slow-moving loop, an annoying fly, and trying to fist him over regulations, rules, restrictive systems, a natural plant medicine, an ointment, can a business consulting appointment, cost, benefit, corporate frustration, red tape around risk regulation. Yeah, that was written during an attempt to get like a medical cannabis, actually. Sitting on the phone for ages and ages to try and get medical cannabis, and being told that I couldn't get it unless I went to a psychologist and I tried their antipsychotics for 3 months, and then I had to say that they didn't work. So they want to poison me with some poisonous stuff before I can actually. Yeah, absolutely. So that's how it works. So. Yeah, if you want to get medical cannabis in Australia, you actually have to go through the whole pharmaceutical system and take all their poisons before anything. So there was a big stoppage of it. Yeah, all right. Well, Paul, I'll invite you on up. Paul, what are you doing?
Yeah, Professor. I should know English. That's in English. Now, we had a bit of fun before with a chorus, and I thought, well, it's like a retreated tie, give it another go. It's a bit corny, but... by the way, Professor, just got to say about our Russian friends, our great Russian friends. People attack Putin and the Russian people. They're a republic, and they're defending their borders. So I extend them at least that opportunity. The Cold War's never deceased on Russia. The Russian people have been victimised in time immemorial and still today. The Cold War has never ceased. We need to embrace those good people, and as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Putin is a great leader and a man of peace. So I just have to temper what's happening. We're endless propaganda. It was anti-Soviet propaganda when I was a child, and now it's anti-Russian propaganda today. But I think the Russian people are very much like ourselves. They love their kids. They're Christian people in a way. They're hard-working people. They're just ordinary people like us. Very much like our American friends. I'd like to see the two great republics get together and as a bulwark against the evil that's happening in the world today.
Yeah. Both Russian and Ukrainian, we're pretty good looking.
Yes, it's just political. It's just I suspect chicanery on the border. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't take an opinion about it except to say whatever they do, they're despised for, and every attempt they have to bring peace to the world, they're criticised in the West. Unwantonly too. That's just my opinion. By the way, I was going to mention a great hero I like to mention here, the people that have done something in the world. In the past, the great Red Army Choir, who were World War II veterans. And again, it was sort of a force of peace. They were trying to outreach the world in their sort of broken way. And the Red Army Choir was an amazing ensemble of just working men. And out of the back of the choir came Leonid Kharitonov. Now Kharitonov, I think, in my opinion, is the greatest natural baritone, not basso, but a baritone, but a true baritone in his voice. There's a lot of phony baritones in the world, and quite renowned ones too. I mean, it's shithouse. But if you ever want to see a beautiful rendition, he sang in 1965. It was filmed in black and white, maybe in front of the proletariat, maybe in front of the big boys of the party who would know. But they had the Red Army Choir behind, and the translation of the Ouse, the river, was the cliff. Sorry, the Ouse cliff was translated into English as the cliff. They called it simply, and it was sort of a pop song in some respects. But that one particular rendition of it, he said in later life, correcting off that he didn't know it very well. It was a bit like me, so I identified. He got it a bit half done in front of all the big crowd, and he said he wasn't too sure about it. And there's a moment, there's just one tiny moment where he's on the back of the throat and at the end of his strap. It was a beautiful rendition and very powerful. I don't think you could ever do it twice. So that was Leonid Kritinov and the Red Army Choir, The Cliff. And if you look it up on YouTube, you'll see something soul-stirring. What a lovely man. He also sort of did some other nice things that were popular. Dark-Eyed Cossack Girl and a beautiful, haunting rendition of the Volga Boatman. So they're worth looking at. Just very, very lovely. That's it. Thank you. This one tonight, my brother said every time I sing I'll rattle the floor and it goes, he says that the chair moving around sounds better than me. So. Give it to me. Deluxe. Anyway, this one tonight, this is a song by a man called Jimmy Driftwood. Jimmy Driftwood. Now, no one would know Jimmy Driftwood. Now, his brother was Jimi Hendrix, and his father was Neville Craftwood. He claimed to be a fragment of the Holy Cross, but that was in the Sea of Galilee, but he changed that story to being washed up on Wanda Beach. Anyway, Jimmy Driftwood wrote this song. It's an interesting song too, and like the Bob Dylan song of last week, it could be an inner thought. In other words, the story that unfolds could be actually what is happening inside ourselves, and not necessarily a direct encounter as it's described in the words. Now, the song's called. Before I banter on about the Holy Fragment of Holy Cross, I was going to say that the second most prosperous industries in the past, besides slavery, which was the most number one, bigger than oil in its day, still practiced today for profit, was pilgrimage. And mentioning the Holy Cross, I've actually been to St. Peter's where they're supposed to have the interred bones of St. Peter, but you know, fragments.
We can run pilgrimages from Burke Street to Gyra.
Well, that would probably make as much sense.
And on knees.
That would make as much sense. Now, the words to this one, thanks Ashley, the words to this one in the song, it says, he had a long chain on, he had a long chain on. And the third line is, he had a long chain on. So, that's the chorus. Huh? Yeah, it's an easy one.
It's anthropological.
Yeah. So, I don't want to be, like sort of trying to gild the lily and do a doubler. I don't know if I can read that. That'll be alright. I can read that. Anyway, this one's called Long Chain On. And I've forgot it. So I'll just say good night and goodbye.
Dedicated to you as a massacre. This is dedicated to you as a massacres.
Yeah. Well, it's a song that the Invisible Mother sang to the Invisible Man. This one's called Long Chain On. One night as I lay on my pillow, moonlight as bright as the dawn, I saw a man come a-walking, he had a long chain on. I heard his chains a-clanking, they made a mournful sound, welded around his body, dragging along on the ground. He had a long chain on, he had a long chain on, he had a long chain on. He came up to my window, he looked at me and he said, I am so tired and hungry, give me a bite of your bread. He didn't look like a robber, he didn't look like a thief. His voice was as soft as the moonlight, a face full of sorrow and grief. He had a long chain on, he had a long chain on, he had a long chain on. I went into my kitchen, fetched him a bowl full of meat, a drink and a pan of cold biscuit, that's what I gave him to eat. Though he was tired and hungry, a warm light came over his face. He bowed his head in the moonlight, he said a beautiful grace. He had a long chain on, he had a long chain on, he had a long chain on. I fetched my hammer and chisel, offered to set him free. He looked at me and said softly, I guess we had best let it be. When he had finished his supper, he thanked me again and again. Though it's been years since I've seen him, still hear him dragging his chain. He had a long chain on, he had a long chain on, he had a long chain on.
That's a timely lament. Or is it a work of joy?
What a legend.
Ooh, we're getting close to the end. Are you going to do anything tonight, James? No.
Off you go, James.
I
Tell us a story from your life.
was thinking of one or two, but I need to look them up soon.
Okay.
But,
So,
good.
is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
You haven't heard the professor's story yet about the Japanese divers smoking.
Okay.
Another day.
It's a
Funny story,
I'll
no?
just do a couple more from memory.
It's a story, isn't
Seriously.
Some fun in the time. Right, I'll do another Thomas Hardy, like I did the first week. And I guess the weather, the grey clouds have been reminding me a bit of this one recently. For wanderer said the leaden sky, I fain would lighten me, but there are laws in force on high which say it must not be. I would not freeze thee, Sean, one cried, the north knew I but how, to warm my breath, to slack my stride, but I am good as thou. Tomorrow I attack thee, white said sickness, yet I swear, I bear thy little ark no spite, but am bidden to bear. Come hither, son, I heard death say, I did not will a grave, should end thy pilgrimage today, but I too am a slave. We smiled upon each other then, and life to me had less of that fell look it wore when they earned their passiveness.
Felt like Emily Dickinson too, that. Although it's Hardy.
Alright, I'll do one of mine that is titled This Media. It's fairly old. File away, some may say, do not stray. Compose, impose, suppose, form and prose. Time as it goes, as free as a river flows, and gravity's gradient slows. Add into the ocean depths, dive into mysterious concepts. A lost city or secret treasure, fathoms of the mind wait to measure. Materials in the public eye cannot help but seem to shy. Answers evasively, media circus sly. A glance behind as the past roots by. Captured in the moment like the ripples on a lake, or is the future sent by what's at present stake? What has been will be again, the moment's an itch to learn. The questions of exact nature, a point the main, reward zone, target for which you yearn. Alright, last one is titled The Nymph, the Muse, and the Ideal Horse.
She's a kinky nymph.
Yeah.
The river was wild, crashing of thunder, an ode to a slip, a footstep to blunder. A look this way, a glimpse at that, how far to stray, a fitting hat, an elegant, effortless trot, lost in the dreams of a well-placed dot. They met at the edge of the water, glistening radiant on everything shone. That place where I sought it, blessed be nature, an ode to a throng. A meeting of wiles, a delicate whim, a place of smiles and chances slim, fleeting subtle in an instant gone, lingering memories not yet done. The dress was feathery, semi-translucent, except for the horse shimmering evanescent. Hair so lovely, a vertical wave, a beguiled heart I could not save. Beguiled heart I could not save. It caresses the longing of a space not reached. Hints to understanding I cannot be teached. Taught would be better, lessons steep would be learned. Illusion to shatter, I should have been forewarned. Broken in to tame the wild, another king, a wish too mild, and yet I'll return whenever I can. I'm already lost to being a fan.
Thank you very much, James. Well, we're nearly at the end of the night. Before we finish off, announcements. Next Thursday, the 3rd of March, is the Festival of Small Halls Tour coming to here in Guyra with Juzzy Smith and Karen Lee Andrews. It's only $25 a ticket, or $20 a ticket if you're a concession, or $15 if you're like under 17, 16 and under. As well as that, you can get Steve Wordsmith's book Where the Rubber Hits the Road in this game they call Life here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. My book, Poetry to End Prohibition. Before we end, there's also every Saturday morning there's the market here from 8:30 to 12:30, and tomorrow night at 6:30 here, Guyra Film Society is showing the 1931 Dracula with Bela Lugosi in it. So that's
I had to remind him
yeah.
when it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was last week.
Tomorrow night at 6:30.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
I came up and enjoyed myself.
Yeah. So that's 6:30 here. All right. But most of all, the Festival of Small Halls Tour, 7 p.m. Thursday, next Thursday, not this tomorrow, but the one after here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Get your tickets, tell your people about it, because it'll be lots of fun. Yeah, and we can dance and sing again too. Yeah, we're allowed to dance and sing. And as of Friday, we were allowed to have no masks on again, and that. Like last Friday, there was no big things anymore. Yeah. Okay, here's a couple that I've written this week. Let's start with what I wrote last night. Going to bed. I close my eyes and become the mind full of many different colours and words. I write the words I hear, but no words can describe the inner realms and worlds. The rain falls on the tin roof, the old building creaks, drips. Inside the mind is the choice to relax into the feeling of love, of wonderment, of graciousness and creativity inspired from above. With a giant radiant heart filled with gratitude for the wind and falling rain. Rainbows are never seen at night, and you'll never know another's pain. The mind keeps on jiving and thriving, never just surviving. The colours and patterns in my mind are beyond describing. This one, well, I've got a calendar to thank for this, and someone just over there who will remain nameless who brought a calendar in. Yeah, create magic, bless the birds, let the sun shine in, home sweet home. Love speaks in flowers, the earth has music for those who listen. Peace on earth, be happy. The voice of the sea speaks to the soul, the earth laughs in flowers. We are all more alike than different. Love all, respect, world harmony, empathy, tolerance, kindness, cold days and warm memories, the magic of rainbows. Putting a positive spin to the thing. I'm thinking about how consciousness has changed over time today, because I've had some interesting conversations. Now, someone who's probably no older than anyone or younger than anyone else here is definitely probably 15 to 20 years older than me, and more, 25 years older than James over there. But he was in here today telling me about his schooling. And telling me about his schooling, how every day it was like there would be this teacher who would pretty much strap everybody. They'd all have to stand all lined up with their hands out, and the teacher would walk down the line going, whack, 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 hitting it, giving everyone the strap. And I'm like, wow, that's, there's a lot of people here smiling about that, because you've probably got memories of that kind of thing. Horrible, violent.
Echoes.
Yeah. Horrible, violent behaviour that's just not tolerated anymore.
I can relate to that one.
Yeah. And there's all these nodding heads around here. And then,
Top my shit.
yeah, well, I sort of kind of was just on that bit of missing out. They still had the strap when I was in primary school in Victoria. That was up until 1981, I know that. I was lucky never to get it. They still had the cane in Queensland up until I finished high school, as far as I'm aware, in the late 1980s in Queensland. But yeah, that's all gone by the by now. A teacher would never think of, even giving a clip over the ear. I'm sure they'd like to.
Mr. Tanner used to make us put our bums up on the workbench, and he would get the craft paddle, the big paddle you use in home education and structure and all of that, and he would whack us with the big paddle on our bums. We'd be like that on the bench, 6 or 7 of us at a time. If the class misbehaved, you'd all get the paddle.
All right. Well, I didn't have. So yeah, I missed out on a lot of that. So I was fortunate that I went to a public state school, and that kind of stuff was kind of outlawed and out the window by the time I sort of got there.
That's middle 1960s at Moreland-Bar High.
This one is called Spike. Now Spike was a maths teacher. Who's my grade 8 maths teacher? This one's called Spike anyway. Stand up, Wayne! You're garbage! What are you? Garbage, yeah, girl, stand up! You garbage, boy! What are you? Garbage! That's it.
Yes.
Did that really happen?
You bet! Like every single day someone was garbage in Spike's
Oh, that's garbage.
Poor Mr. Stockwell had a bit of like, what do you call that, shell shock from the war though, and like when the thunderstorms would come, he would get scared and hide under the desk. Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Like he would like you weren't allowed to put your chair in under the front of your chair in under your desk. You're not allowed to swing back. Anyone swing back? Stand up, boy.
Or hold out in the middle of the hall and
bits
hold
of
your
chalk. You
suitcase.
would chuck the duster at people like everyone.
Right.
Could get hit by him. Anyway. But
Give us another one. You've got more school poets. They're wild.
That's just Spike, yeah. The final one for the night. Yeah. Like there's the one from like the part 2 of The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Yeah, leave that.
When we grew up and went to school, there were certain teachers who would hurt the children in any way they could by pouring their derision upon anything we did, exposing every weakness, however carefully hidden by the kids. But in our town it was well known when they got home at night, their fat and psychopathic wives would thrash them within inches of their lives.
We are kicking the wall.
Education.
Oh no, brick. Sorry.
Leave those kids alone.
All right.
You reckon it's a kink in the wall? I don't know.
Yeah. So
Have you seen that on the big
a
screen?
rock
No.
and a
Oh, it's
feather.
good.
So to end the night with a rock
Tommy.
and a
Yeah.
feather.
It's a good.
I was walking down by Mother of Ducks Lagoon and I picked up the rock because it was like where the lawnmower would have gone and he would have like blunted his blades.
Yes.
Oh man, whatever, he smashed a window. It was an interesting rock. And then there was a feather. So then they became good friends, right? A rock and a feather were friends. And so this story ends, and soon this story ends, in a lesson nature sends. When travelling life's bends, all can make amends. Everyone can be friends. Woo! That's it.
The sign after me. The grizzly bear is huge and wild. Go on, hustle that. The grizzly
Bear is huge and wild.
It has devoured the little child.
It has devoured the little
The
child.
little child is unaware.
The little child is unaware.
It has been eaten by the bear.
It has been eaten by the bear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If you like this, click on, give it a thumbs up link, click on subscribe and notification thing, and
That was
we'll see you next
my
week here at
comment
Wednesday
for,
Words. Open mic
So,
poetry night from the Australian
Russian
Poetry.
bears. Good night, channeling.
Good night from you.
Good night from him and him and him and her and her and her and him and her and me too.
Everybody in that house.